one of the most prime pieces of real estate across the mushroom world. This Victorian mansion has all the bells and whistles that any Italian bachelor would be looking for. Fancy lights, fancy vase, a fancy tub, fancy photo of Mario's grandfather from eons ago, their fancy painting of the mansion, and ghosts, lots and lots of ghosts. With Luigi's Mansion being re-released recently for the 3DS, of course I had to dive back into this masterpiece. Right away, the mansion in this game grasped my curiosity due to it shedding some more light on the haunted aspects of the Mario series. Humanoid ghosts were new to me, since majority of the ghosts encountered in the past either were boos, stretchy boos, or other similar beings. But knowing this building was a creation of dark magic really filled in the gaps in the rest of the series. Now mind you, we still have that debate about the portrait ghost I covered a few years back. But even knowing that this mansion is capable of vanishing is very telling. Back in Super Mario World, we had ghost houses scattered throughout the land. Majority of these huge towering mansions made little to no sense based on where they were located. I mean, the one in the Forest of Illusion made sense, and some of the other areas near the start of the game, but we have to remember that we're also in a place called Dinosaur Land, a place that is seemingly devoid of everything, minus some inclusions in the TV show. As a kid, I wanted to know why these large towering ghost structures existed, but now we have some clarity. King Boo has the power to manifest illusions and create settings with his dark powers. While Luigi's Mansion looked and felt real, as I mentioned earlier, it was created by darkness, and once King Boo is defeated, it dissipates. I think this makes sense given that majority of the ghosts in the mushroom world have crossed over from another dimension known as the paranormal dimension. We encounter this area at the end of Dark Moon, and we constantly battle other foes through portals throughout the game. King Boo has the ability to create these portals and then spawn a magical house around it, which will explain why these houses exist in such odd locations like the cave in Super Mario World. They are a hub for all these ghosts, and a paranormal portal probably exists within it somewhere. Kinda neat to think that King Boo had influence in places a decade before we even knew who he was. Now every spooky mansion surely has its pool of odd things, and Luigi's Mansion is no different. The thing is though, during my initial playthroughs of this game, I actually didn't stumble upon stuff like I normally did in other games. About the only thing I can recall doing is pushing Toad around on the deck, which was kinda silly, but neat. However, there's a lot of cool exploits in this game. My favorite by far is tiptoeing through the walls of the mansion, and basically clearing it super fast. My buddy D-Pad Gamer covered it in one of his videos a while back, and it's pretty cool. You walk inside a spawning chest, slide alongside the interior of the walls, do some twirling, fall to your death, and suddenly you're down in the basement about to fight the final boss of the game. It's pretty neat. There's also a way to explore EGAD's lab, and apparently the ladder was something you could climb. But I will say my curiosity did get the best of me in this game. And the one thing I did manage to eventually contribute towards was exploring the exterior of the mansion. The actual exterior, not the backyard. You see, the game has a huge area modeled for the mansion and the surrounding area that is seen in the opening cutscene, but Luigi can never actually walk out the front door. But what if I told you I figured out a way to explore this? Now mind you, it's not a conventional way, but being able to walk around this area as Luigi was extremely satisfying. It was the one area in the game I wanted to check out but never could. I actually just covered it over on SwankyBox Live if you're interested, and you can check out the link in the video description or in that little circle eye icon above. It honestly was like a dream come true. So Pixel Portals has evolved a bit if you're familiar with my past videos. But if you came here for the nostalgia, well, you're about to get a huge helping of it. So buckle up. Luigi's Mansion is a game I revisit almost every year. There's something about it that draws me in over and over again. There's a chilling aura that sort of surrounds this desolate location. And while most people wouldn't find that appealing, I certainly do. Deep within Boo Woods, Luigi wins a mansion from a contest he didn't enter. And from that point forward, our adventure begins. This mansion as a whole was an area that I really enjoyed, and I lived vicariously through Luigi after the adventure. A building of this size was definitely way too big for a house in my eyes, but it was neat to see all the different themed rooms scattered throughout it. It was my haunted home away from home, and once the mansion was cleared besides the final boss, I would wander through the halls admiring it. It was an introvert's dream, especially for a young boy who wasn't the most socially inclined. I would fire up this game consistently around October, and the months leading up to it as summer began to set into fall. Late nights spent exploring this haunted realm were moments I cherished, and I would often bounce between this place and Mad Monster Mansion in Banjo-Kazooie. However, Luigi's Mansion offers something that Mad Monster could not, and that was a wide range of intricate rooms. Throughout the game, you typically explore the game from one camera angle, and lots of times you lose the sense of space that Luigi's Mansion had due to it being from a fixed perspective. However, I would always pull my Game Boy Horror and explore the rooms to their fullest when I could. There was so much hidden off camera, and it was neat to see what wasn't shown to us. While I enjoyed tons of rooms within this mansion, there were a few in particular that really resonated with me. For those who watched all my videos up to this point, I'm sure you can probably guess which ones. The areas that were most thought-provoking. First up, Astral Hall and the Observatory were prime locations I sat in. Stargazing was a great interest of mine, so of course relaxing under the stars in any capacity was a no-brainer for me. I always loved how the observatory evolved as a room as well, starting as a closed-off room and then opening up and extending to the night sky. It was one of the times that made you remember that you were in a magical mansion where anything was possible. And although most of the time things seemed present and real, it was all truly an illusion of magic. Next up on my list of favorite rooms were the study and the fortune teller spaces. The array of these rooms were just really welcoming to me, and the thought of having dedicated rooms for things like this within a house was pretty neat. Sitting fireside with a good book was of course a win for me, and the fortune teller room seemed so obscure that I just found the idea fascinating. I think the areas I visited most often though were the ones on the outside of the mansion. Because I was intrigued by Boo Woods in general, the exterior of the mansion was actually even more appealing to me, especially going back to places like the graveyard, which really didn't serve much purpose after you had finished it. I mean, I would go back there and sit by the gravestones and just look out into the horizon. You had Boo Woods fixed right behind you, but you couldn't go explore it. It was just off limits and it kind of taunted you. But that shaped the world around the mansion. It took place in one small area, one small house. Me as a kid, obviously I wanted to go out there, but I couldn't. So I would go to the graveyard, I would stare up at the trees, and I would just let my imagination get the best of me. I always wondered whose graves these stones were supposed to represent, even though they were a figment of magic. I found peace in the graveyard and the courtyard, and often peered back into the deep dark forest in wonder. During the blackout event in the mansion, my immediate reaction was to seek out the graveyard to see the rekindled spirits that dwelled within. The blackout was really neat since it bestowed purpose to all the rooms again. New hidden ghosts lay dormant, and a chance to seek out treasures you missed in the past was too good of an opportunity to pass up. I tried to squeeze as much out of the blackout that I could because it was truly one of my favorite events in the game. I feel like so many players just rush past it. They would go through a couple rooms, restore power, and not really explore the entire mansion that they had been going through before. I feel like there's a lot of lost opportunity, and I just love seeing all the rooms in the mansion again become prime targets for exploration. But before I wrap this up, there's a few more areas I want to talk about. And these areas in general, represented solitude so well. For me, the roof was as empty as it was vast. Being the largest place in the game, it really didn't have much to offer. But the concept of sneaking to the top of the building and relaxing under the night sky was something I wish I could have always done. In my younger days, there was a group of kids who snuck on top of the school at night one time, and the experience sounded super neat. Obviously, they got in trouble for doing so, but sitting under the stillness of night by a place that united them all was the pinnacle of memorable things to do as a kid. In some ways, this lone fire atop of the mansion makes me think of that moment, but reflecting on it now, it also reminds me of camping with my friends after graduating high school. Everyone goes their separate ways, but a campfire is a timeless thing. The secret rooms in the mansion yielded a similar experience, since it makes me think of leaving something behind in a house for someone to discover years down the line. A sealed room in a house with no way to enter just seems so darn cool. Does anyone else think that? Filling it with treasure makes it even better. A few years after playing this game, we ended up remodeling parts of our house and converted our wide open basement into several rooms with a hallway. Within these walls, I actually left a timestamp with a message. Perhaps many decades from now, someone will find it. That moment of carving this message into the wall. then sealing it off from the outside world. It will always make me think of these rooms from Luigi's Mansion. It's crazy to think about how many hours I just spent existing in this haunted house. For a while there, I thought the Boo Balls did something besides just being a false discovery. From trying to solve that mystery to just admiring the intricacy of the house, a lot of time was spent wandering these halls on late fall nights during the school year and beyond. You know, when I was younger, I would often think of my dream home and what it would look like. Of course, without all the ghosts. But Luigi's Mansion was just a place of reflecting for me. And that's why Luigi's Mansion will always be one of my pixel portals. But now that I shared that with all of you, I'd love to hear about your own experiences. What was your favorite room in Luigi's Mansion? And what did you often think about while wandering the halls? I'd love to hear your story, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, 2 things. 1, let me know what you think about the new format for pixel portals. I mixed it up a bit so it's more appealing to a general audience, but feedback is welcome. And 2, swing on over to SwankyBox Live and watch me explore the outside of Luigi's Mansion. It's a pretty cool video and I think you'll enjoy it. And with that, thanks for tuning in to this nostalgia trip to a dark mansion. Perhaps you'll enjoy some of these other videos on screen. Thanks for watching, guys and gals, and until my next video, cheers.